takes to the music.
The Beatles happened, and I heard that, maybe I read an article in one of those teen magazines that songwriters make more money than the singers do because they wrote the songs and they get royalties. Right. So here it is, many years later, many years later, and we're all getting percentages of a fraction of a penny for every play on these various streaming services. So clearly that ship has sailed.
Here we are, where the big corporations have decided that music is not valuable, it's just data. So that little piece of 3 minutes, which used to be a song that changed your life, to them is worth just the same data as somebody talking or something written. And all of a sudden, what you used to get paid for a song, which is now you get 0.0003. I'm sitting right here with on the wall with a check I got from one of the early checks I got from the internet. It says exactly 0.01. So it's I got 1 cent check in the mail. And now now they're up to about, these same checks are up to $12 or $16. Wow, $16. That makes 100,000 people have heard this. So yes, that's one thing. And the pandemic has just meant that the only way you could make money, which was in the last few years, which is playing live on the road, that has died as well. So it's being a musician is very difficult now. And we're all kind of just struggling to reinvent ourselves. I don't even making albums. I used to love creating a whole album of 10, 12 for kids to write 15 songs, and then putting them together with sounds and where the songs fit and all that stuff. And then here's something you can listen to in the car or wherever, go from first to last. And that, with the streaming, also has become a song, and it's great. You do all this stuff, but artists have taken the huge hit here, and so making an album starts to be: is this worth it at all? When somebody's just going to pull one song off it, The
recording industry is going to look for whoever's young and is basically reflecting the young taste.
It changed for the better and the worse. And not that worse would be worse. In the earlier days, the music that was out there, ours included, connected our generation. We were connected by all those great songs and continue to this day to be connected in a large way by that music from our era. Today, there's more opportunity, but less notice, meaning it's fractured, so we're not all listening to the same thing. And there are millionaires with hit records and fans that buy them, and I haven't heard of them or their hit record. Now, in our day, if you had a hit record, everyone heard about it for sure. They might not have liked it, but we were all listening to the radio station. What are you going to do? You wait for the song you like on the radio station, and you go through the one you don't like. But what that did was connect us all to each other's likes in music. We're just bonded as a generation. There's no musical bondage to the generation today. It's impossible. Mathematically, it's impossible. So that's a big difference. But the plus being more people can make it in different genres and in different areas, and not even be known in other areas. You can still have a very successful career with many people not even knowing who you are. That's different today.
You have a situation where it's something very personal, but you want to make a living. So you want to make it also a product. And in most cases, someone has to sell that product. And at some point, it has to be you. And that's where people really have a hard time. Especially because any salesman will tell you it's a numbers game. I mean, if you get 10% you're doing great.
I would say it's changed in certain ways, similar to what's happened to the movie business. The people who would be what you would call the gatekeepers, the people who you would get signed with, etc. Back in a certain era, you had impresarios like John Hammond, for example, and he had everyone from Billie Holiday to Stevie Ray Vaughan and everybody in between, Springsteen, Dylan. He was an impresario who shepherded these people's careers over many generations because he cared about the music. The music was always first, but he was a businessman. He worked within the structure of what the traditional music industry recording business used to be. And we see a lack of that. I see a lack of that nowadays. I see not as much opportunity for people like that to have an influence. And people like your Ahmet Ertegans and your people who oversaw people's careers and nurtured artists. Everyone, the other side of the coin is people will say, yeah, but they took their money and they signed over this. That's business. We all know the stories. We've heard horror stories about people who have been mismanaged and et cetera, et cetera. But my point is about the people who shepherded and nurtured artistry, people from the business end of the business who had an eye for the artistry and nurtured the talent and said, well, you were almost there. Your next recording, that's going to be the one where you get that opportunity to get your bearings with a couple of releases and start touring. But now everything's flipped around. Now it's like everything's DIY. Everyone can record in their bedroom and have the same sonic quality of what you could get on commercially produced, etc. When people make their own records and play them for their friends, then all you have is your friends saying, oh, wow, that was great. And then somebody's telling you, and everybody's telling you, oh, yeah, you're great. Well, I don't want somebody always telling me you're great. I want somebody to say, you could have played that better. Try another pass and think, da-da-da-da-da, or take a breath before you play that bridge, or something where you're getting something critical but constructive. And that's what's missing, and that's what those people did with their artists. That's how there are people like Clive Davis who've been around forever, and he ran Columbia Records in the 60s, started his own label, nurtured Aretha and Whitney Houston and so on. I mean, they're kind of a dying breed. So somebody like that is really, it's a key figure in the music of the mid to late 20th century, even drifting into where we are now. Because I don't see anybody the business structure is different. It doesn't really support people like that anymore. Now, I remember the story, I read this in a story about Miles Davis. And at some point in the 1960s, Miles Davis was on Columbia Records for many, many years. And in the 1960s, reportedly, there was a conversation between the head of Columbia Records at the time and the head of CBS, William Paley. And they're talking about the division, what the profits are, and so on and so forth. And the head of the Columbia Records, a guy named, I believe his name was Goddard Lieberson. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the exact dialogue, but apparently he said something to the effect that, well, Miles, his last couple of records, he's not selling too well. Maybe we ought to consider dropping him from the label. This is like the mid-1960s. So William Paley, who was the head of all of CBS, he said, well, okay, that might be so, but I think it's important for CBS, for Columbia Records, to have someone of Miles Davis' stature on the label. So we're going to keep him. It's important that we have it's important to support an artist like that. He may be in a phase now where he's not really selling anything like he was, but it's important to have him on the roster. That kind of thinking is gone from the music business now. It is gone. And on the corporate level, that kind of thinking really is there.
Here's a shocking comment. Okay, we do a meet and greet after every show. I mean, I don't know what the future of that's going to be, but historically, that's what we do. We have heard the sentence at those meetings. We have heard, oh, I found you on the internet. Or, oh, you did this song in Jim Carrey's movie, Dumb and Dumber. I looked it up and I found out all about you. So there's a new generation that actually use the internet, and if they hear something good, they'll go research who did that. I like that. Would I like more of what they did? there's another whole area of opportunity on the internet that widens in a worldwide way what you can accomplish. The job of the artist today is it's easy to get out there in front of the world with your shingle. How do you get the world to come to your business? This is the challenge of the kids today. Our challenge was, how do we get signed to a record label? Because the record label, MGM, was going to know what to do. Okay. The job now is, I have music. There's no more record labels, not for me anyway. And what do I do to attract attention to myself so people hear my music? This is the challenge of today. I don't know. Good luck to everybody that has to, historically we have a presence on the internet that helped us, and you can grow from that into today, which we've done. We have a lot of young fans. And so it's been an interesting evolution.
I think it got better for everybody. I mean, now everybody has equal access to the information. If you discovered, say, for example, Nat King Cole, you could go online and you could hear everything that Nat King Cole ever recorded. Once upon a time, you'd have to go in a record store and deal with some kid who hated you anyway, just because of the way you dressed. If you didn't have a Megadeth t-shirt on, you were lucky that he would even deal with you. So now you have everybody in the world, if they've got a phone, can access everybody's artistry.
Has it been to your advantage?
I think so, because the more people who hear your music, the more it becomes. I mean, I know a lot of people think that they're supposed to make a load of money with the music, because that's what the press says. This guy made millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. But successful people in the business never look at the money before it arrives. So most people who do well in the music business work really hard and constantly try to keep up with whatever is going. I'm lucky that I've got all this music from another period. It still kind of sounds interesting, and that isn't the same for everybody. Some people, that sounds really antiquated, and we never spent a lot of time making the records, but the qualities of the songs makes them livable, likable and livable. I think they've got another 50 years easy. It doesn't make any difference to me, but I hope that people can access them. We now receive small checks from countries that didn't even have a stamp when we made the records. And if you were a plumber and you did some work in 1964, the only thing you would get was complaints. The toilet's leaking again. We get a check, royalty.
There is so much that has helped us. The internet is allowing us to mix Rhythm of the World, 20 songs remotely. Frank Filippetti is our mix engineer in Connecticut, and we work back and forth with Frank. So without the internet, so much would be stopped. I mean, you can't not have the internet anymore. It's like you can't not have a cell phone. There's certain things that became part of our lives that aren't going to go away.
Attention to the light outside, how it moves through the sky. It's my info online. I hear the trees with the wind blowing through, and the city